Hello everyone. This video is about oppositions, and oppositions are very funny because they, first of all, have three distinctly different meanings when you look at it in a natal chart, or you use them in forecasting, or you use them in synastry. Because, for instance, in synastry, we love oppositions because it simply means that the two opposing planets can meet between, and it actually symbolizes what we should do in a relationship, either romantic or any type of other relationship. In forecasting, it usually denotes some outer energy that slams you from the outer world. You feel okay, you think you are okay, and all of a sudden something from the outside world pushes you out of your equilibrium. So we don't like oppositions. And at the same time, you can always blame it to someone, whereas with squares, you can't do it. And in a natal chart, they're funny because they are diagonally opposed. If you look at the year, when it is a spring planet, it's opposite an autumn planet. When it's a winter planet, it's opposite a summer planet. It's actually the sign that is opposite. So they are distinctly different energy patterns, and of course they are the farthest from each other. So what you should do is you should stay in the middle and somehow incorporate both ends. But this is the hardest to do. So what we do instead, we usually embrace one side, one portion, and simply just reflect the other one on the outer world, and usually uh, either totally disown it or feel it as an attack coming from others. It depends on the planet. And on November the 3rd, just 2 days after the very difficult, let's put it this way, Scorpio new moon, we have three very strong oppositions, not just the Jupiter, not just the Pluto Mars, which is really this anaretic opposition is very strong, let's put it this way, and very disruptive. But two others, and of course we are 2 days before the American official American election. And we did look at the space-time energy with my London group, and then we realized that, you know what, you can't really do it because in many states and also in letters, you could actually vote by mail. It started much earlier. And of course, it won't stop on the 5th, so you can't actually see the energy pattern afterwards either, because it will go on for quite a while, because they will see the ballots and still count and recount. So it's not, you can't really look at it by using simply one distinct chart, because you won't have this. So the title of this particular video is Oppositions, Dilemmas, or Strife and Struggle, because yes, oppositions mean both actually. And the space-time moment I chose is on November the 3rd at 15:25 London time. And I chose it because this is the exact time when Venus is exactly opposite Jupiter. And because out of these oppositions, Mercury Saturn is a little bit already separating. It was a couple of hours earlier, actually the second, it was exact. And at the same time, we have three strong oppositions. In the London chart, you can see that Black Moon Lilith is on the descendant. The vertex, the point of no free will, is on Vesta, so you can actually focus on where you don't have free will. And the triple conjunction of Venus, Lilith, and Pallas Athena is still there, although Venus is already separating from them. So you have Venus, love goddess, with Pallas Athena, wisdom, and Lilith, revolt against injustice. Now, if you look at Venus, the Venus-Jupiter opposition first, here Jupiter is in Gemini, and Jupiter is also retrograde. So Jupiter is not in a very nice position. When it's in exile, when it's in its detriment, it simply means that it cannot be strong enough. And I always say that planets in detriment can be utilized for others. So actually, how can you utilize luck for others? But at the same time, it's retrograde, so it's working inwardly. So if you had this particular opposition in a natal chart, definitely Venus would be the stronger than Jupiter. First of all, it's in Jupiter's sign, so it rules Jupiter also, and also it is supported by these two strong ladies. So that's one thing. On the Mars Pluto opposition, I this is something that I went into detail in the Scorpio new moon chart. That traditionally Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. But actually, these two planets work very, very differently. Pluto is the power behind the apparent power, so the true power, the executing power is Mars or the Sun, and someone who is governing this executive power is Pluto. Always behind the scenes, always hidden. Don't forget that Pluto wears a helmet that renders him invisible whenever he comes up to the surface of the Earth. Otherwise, it's completely invisible. So actually, Mars Pluto is disruptive because Mars is very open, very honest. Someone who the fighter, the shining armor wearing knight, someone who is self-assertive, open, honest, yeah, a little bit aggressive, of course. But Pluto is someone that you never even know. You don't get to know it. Don't get to see it. So this opposition simply shows that at the moment, the way I see it, there are the globalists who want universal power over the globe, and that for that they need to destroy two things. They need to destroy families, which they have been doing for the last 70, 80 years. They totally disrupted families here in Europe and especially in the United States, and destroy nation states. They don't need nation states because nations and families are the strongest base for an individual to have some kind of cushion, so to have some kind of saving grace. Families can work together. They are a power energy. Nation states know what's good for their own subjects. So, of course, they look after their people. Globalists don't want that. Globalists want power, and they would do anything in their power to get that. And this Pluto-Mars opposition in the last degrees of the signs Cancer and Capricorn simply denote this kind of struggle. Actually, Mars is moving into Leo the next day, so by the 4th, actually, and also by the official voting date of the presidential election, it will already be in Leo. So that's and the opposition will be separating, and energetically it will fall apart, of course. But then Leo and Cancer, Leo and Capricorn are opposed to each other in a way by Mars and Pluto, and these are the two most not action oriented. How shall I put it? They are very very interested in realizing stuff and leaving it behind. Uh, uh, Leo wants to be creative, and Capricorn wants to have power, have structures. So it's a very interesting fight between the two at the moment. And if you look at Mercury and Sedna, Mercury at the moment just went into Sagittarius. So we have another planet which is in exile, which is in its detriment. And it will be interesting to see when Mercury is opposite Jupiter. We are going to look at it in like maybe 10 days' time, maybe a little bit more. And so Mercury is opposite Sedna, and Sedna denotes creation through dissection. It simply means that look at it and take a look at what is not working in your life and take it apart and throw out the non-working sections, and whatever remains, try to create some usable, workable whole. And Mercury gives you the insight for this if you are willing to get into the mode of understanding what is happening. So these are the highlights. These are the oppositions of this particular space-time moment. And There is a complex planetary picture at 22 degrees with the Jupiter opposite Venus, Pallas Athena, and Lilith, which actually this opposition is dissolved by Chiron. Chiron is at the moment retrograding still in Aries, and for quite a while it will still be in Aries. It takes 12 years for Chiron to cross to it is there for 12 years. And the reason why is very simple, because if you consider human suffering, the most suffering is caused by wars, aggression, violence, fire, bloodletting. So that is why. So we have to deal with it. Of course, so now, because it's retrograde, it allows you to deal with these patterns. And so that's what dissolves the opposition between little luck Venus and big luck Jupiter. And for instance, if you do have this in your chart or something similar, Venus is the winner, not just because she is protected by these two strong women, but also because it rules Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde and in detriment. So in this case, this personal luck would be more important than universal luck, so to speak. And the other aspect configuration is a little engine with Ceres, the nurturing principle, and Chiron and Jupiter. And little engines are not as powerful as big engines, because instead of the trine, you only have a square, a quincunx, and a sextile. But the sextile provides you with opportunities. The square gives you the energy of daily actions, and the quincunx gives you the karmic consideration. And actually, this is a bidirectional quincunx, so it could actually work as a trine. So that is the configuration around 20 to 22 degrees. And the two other oppositions are also forming configurations. Oh, before that, sorry, we have to look at the transcendental celestial objects. There are not too many. On Venus, Pallas, Lilith, you have Selene, the moon goddess. On Ceres, which is also mother energy, you have Hathor, another mother energy, and Electra. And I started calling Electra the proxy fighter, because Electra actually gets her little brother to kill their mother because the mother killed the father. So actually, she's the proxy fighter. She doesn't fight, she just gets someone to do the fight for her. On Jupiter, you have Alchira, and he is an aboriginal God who creates the universe and then moves to the very edge of his created universe and never looks back, turns his back and never looks back. And it denotes two types of karmic issue. Number one is that you might simply be interested in just creation, but not operation. It means that you create, but leave it behind for others to operate. And this is happening actually in Judeo-Christian lore as well, because that is what Yahweh did. Actually, Yahweh created the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. Before Adam and Eve, there was, of course, Adam and Lilith. And then that was a Freudian slip. Yahweh throws them out and say, okay, fine, here's the word, do whatever you want. And it's still the word that he created. So it's a very interesting notion. Bernard Brady has a couple of wonderful articles about the garden, the walled garden, and what it means, and how this concept developed from Mesopotamia. It's really interesting. Anyhow, so the other karmic issue with Alchira could be simply that, okay, I created a mess, a real mess, but I'm not going to rectify it. I'm not going to do anything about it. And that's precisely what you have now in the world. They created a huge mess and they have no idea how to rectify it, how to better it. And Jupiter, of course, enlarges everything it touches. On Chiron, you have Valhalla, the place where the gods unite and discuss stuff. This is what we need. Fortune, and Guinevere, making liaisons and creating new liaisons. Well, if you look at what happened a couple of days ago in Kazan, in Russia, 30 nations gathered in the BRICS talks, And it was very, very funny what legacy media did about it. They didn't do anything. They stayed silent. They didn't even report it. They reported it after, ha ha ha. They didn't. They couldn't agree in anything. They couldn't blah blah blah. These people don't really hate each other. Yes, they may not really like each other, but they like the United States and the so-called rule-based world power. Whose rule, I might ask? They hate it more. And that's the problem, that the world order that is not, has been created by the United States after the Second World War was brilliant and functioned brilliantly, even during the Cold War. But when it became a unilateral power, it simply abused its power. And this is what the other nations no longer want to tolerate. And yet, they don't know yet what they are going to do, but they already know what they don't want. And this is exactly how change is starting, always. When you don't like what is happening to you, that is when the movement starts and the thinking starts. And this is it. That's what happened. It may take another 10 years. What they already know is that they want a new monetary system, which is based on blockchain. You won't be able to trace it. At the moment, Russia is, of course, thrown out of SWIFT, and the United States is actually harassing the others and telling them that they are also going to be kicked out of SWIFT. But let me tell you something about SWIFT. If you live, for instance, in England and you want to make a wire transfer to, let's say, Germany, it first goes into the Fed and then goes to, so the Fed sees everything. The United States Fed, Federal Reserve, which is, by the way, a private bank, okay? It's a private bank, okay? I want you to know. It goes, every wire transfer goes in there, so they know it. And of course, they get paid for it. And when you have a system which is outside SWIFT, first of all, they won't make money on it. Second, they won't be able to see it. So what can they gain by? I mean, what can America gain by kicking people out of SWIFT or nations out of SWIFT? Nothing. So that's the beauty of change. That you might cling to your power, you might cling to the old order, but eventually it will change. And we are in the middle of change, and that is what is actually symbolized by these patterns. As I said, the two opposition actually form, by the way, a mystic rectangle. This is what you see here. So, but I can't tell you what sort of mystic rectangle. Look at the placements. Look at the exact placements. There is a mystic rectangle for sure, but mystic rectangles which are made by two oppositions and by the sides there's two trines and two sextiles. They're usually either air and fire, or they are earth and water. Here in this case, one opposition, Pluto and Mars, is earth and water, and the other opposition, Mercury and Sedna, is air and fire. So again, you can't tell which energy pattern it is, but it's still a mystic rectangle. And the same occurs with the T-square, because as you can see, Juno just moved into Scorpio. So it's already in a fixed sign, while the Mars-Pluto opposition is still in cardinals. So actually, we can't tell what sort of T-square it is. Yes, Australia is coming up to the apex, but it's still a little bit away. As I said, I usually use 2 degrees for configurations. So Australia is at 27, 23, 21, sorry. And it means that it is still half a degree, 25 minutes of an arc away from exactness, or from actually forming the apex. And by the time it moves to that position, Mars is already in Aries, in Leo, so it will fall apart. So again, you have the strife, you have the struggle, but you can't actually tell what sort it is. Okay, and here are the transcendental celestial objects for this particular configuration. On Mercury, you have Hidalgo, the war hero, and wisdom. On Mars, you have Spartacus, the slave, who led a big revolt and, of course, paid with his life, and Cybele, a goddess, one of the strongest goddesses that still remained. Pluto has Cassandra and Osiris. We spoke about this in the new moon charts. I'm not going to elaborate it here. And on Sedna, you have Babel. Now, that's interesting because Babel is the Babylonian tower, which the people in Babylon built because they wanted to talk to God directly. And they wanted to elevate themselves to God. And then God said, come on, and just destroyed the tower. And with it, it issued the decree that from now on, you will speak in different languages and you won't understand yourself and each other. And yeah, Babel usually means that you need to have a new common language. In this case, the old language, this Euro blah blah, which they are using, de-risking, decoupling, idiotic expressions, stupid idiotic expressions, the whole woke nonsense, the whole PC nonsense. We need a language that we can talk on and talk about the issues that are most pressing. And this is what Babel here signifies. There are two centaurs, Pelion, which is the mountain where the caves of the centaurs are, and it represents the mountain of life, your home and your mountain of life. Mors Somnus, which is really a TNO, was very prominent during the COVID. I just heard that there's another version of COVID, which is deadly, very, very virulent, and everyone catches it and all kinds of stuff. And there's not yet a jab for it. Come on, please. Okay, by the way, a coronavirus is the common cold virus. Yes, they enhanced it. Yes, it was, how do you call it? Gain of function. They did gain of function research and did some engineering on it, and so it became deadlier than the normal common cold. But believe me, the normal common cold, it could be also deadly. I mean, it's horrible. You know, it's really horrible. You feel like shit. And please don't fall for this, please. And the Pleiades, and Sedna will not go anywhere, so it will always be conjunct with the Pleiades for another 1.5 years for sure. And the Pleiades is the home of the creator goddess. And then Juno has the same things that it was there. So Veritas, truth, Prudentia, prudence, Apophis, the snake that swallowed the sun in Egypt, Nyx, the night, zero, of course, and Orpheus, the guy who goes down to the underworld to rescue his wife and is unable to. And on Australia, the same thing, Memphis and Merlin, the seat of power, and the magician, as it was in the Scorpio new moon chart. We do live in interesting times. Oppositions are very harsh energies, clashes, but also opportunities to come in the middle and make negotiations. Oppositions need negotiations, and the world needs negotiations. So let's hope. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.